Hey guys, wInevitable here with another guide. This is a request actually for Dimensional Shift Tassadar build. We did cover Tassadar in a previous build. If you haven't seen that, go ahead check that out. This is going to be a more condensed version, not talking about Tassadar specifically, but more this specific build and talent, you know, the talent choices that we take with it, the options here. Because on December 2nd with the Jaina patch, there were a number of nerfs that came out to Tassadar, specifically to his damage. And so he had nerfs at his level 7 talent, the static charge. Right here went, you know, it was decreased, I think, to 25% damage instead of 50%. What else was nerfed? There was a couple of things. Archon, the duration was nerfed a little bit. Healing wards actually received a nerf. Not everyone's aware of this, but it used to be that an AoE spell, like Tassadar's Psionic Storm, his W, which looks like this, used to be that that would not destroy a healing totem, but now those actually will destroy healing totems. So healing totems are a bit weaker because of that. He also had a second removed. You could get second strike at 16. Now you have 2 seconds to cast a second Psionic Storm after casting the first one. Used to be 3 seconds. I believe the slow was nerfed. It used to be 25 on Distortion Beam on level 13. So that was, I think, nerfed by 5%. So you can see there, and there's a few other, like I think the damage on the Archon was nerfed as well. But there's, you know, large dose of nerfs to him specifically because he's labeled as a support hero, and I think Blizzard wanted to put him more into that role and less of a damage dealer. He used to be a top pick. He had to pick or ban all the time in every competitive match. But with these nerfs, he's kind of dropped off a little bit. He's more of a tier 2 or tier 3, depending on your, you know, your chart and how you look at the game. He still gets picked often, but he's not in every game, and he's not a must-have. So this is kind of the build that we see now. There's a couple different variations you can take. It's a bit more focused, as we said, on his dimensional shift. That is his E. It's an E build. It's 75 mana, cooldown of 20 seconds. You become invulnerable and fully invisible for 1.5 seconds. So if I come out here and activate the E, you can see how that's... Oh, and by the way, I haven't talked about this. This is the Mecha Tassadar skin here. It's pretty awesome. I think this has a nice dance to it. Just the Roboto. Oh yeah. Alright, so this is a really cool skin. They're going to add some really awesome features to this in the future. It's customized a lot, like the legendary skin for Tychus. Definitely check it out. But thinking about this in the context of the dimensional shift here, this talent adds a lot of survivability to Tassadar. It's what made him so hard to gank, and continues to make him so hard to gank, even post-patch. You're out in the middle of a lane, you're doing damage, and then all of a sudden you get jumped, you know, like a Zeratul Nova, some, you know, Arthas Kerrigan, some kind of combo comes in. You're dropping your storms, you're landing your auto attacks, right, and then, okay, well, oh, he just throws a shield and he hits E. And the E will also not, you're invulnerable and invisible, which means any kind of lockdown, any kind of root, stun, whatever, cannot land for that 1.5 seconds. It allows you to escape pretty easily. And so the build we're going to look at here, we'll kind of factor in a couple different things, and there's 2 different routes really you could take with this. Level 1 to go with, it kind of map dependent. You can choose between Overload and Psi Infusion. These are still pretty popular. Every now and then you'll now see actually Conjurer's Pursuit to give him a bit more mana. Now for me it kind of depends on the map. Overlord's a Zerg character, right? Overload. This will, instead of giving, used to give 20% extra damage to storms, now it gives you 33% range. So you can see my range right now on W is about there. If I stand, we'll stand here. And you can see it's just in front of the towers. So if I take Overload, now I can cast an extra 33%. This is really useful on a map like Cursed Hollow or Blackheart's Bay, where there's something you have to interrupt. You can interrupt the enemy taking the tribute or turning in doubloon camps. Really useful. Also good for engaging the enemy from farther away, you know, then they can reach you, for catching people as they're trying to run away. This has a lot of great uses. The other talent is Psi Infusion. This is the same. I think it's actually 1 more mana. It used to be 6 mana or 5. Might have been 5 mana pre-patch, but now it returns 7 mana for each target initially hit with the Psionic Storm. So if I take this one, we go out here, I've got 500 mana, I drop a Storm, and look at that, I got all of that. I hit, what, I didn't count how many targets were there, like 8 or 9? I think there was a wave stacked up, so I got most of my mana back, and I'm already at 500 again, just like that. And I can come out here and cast it again. I didn't get everything back that time, but I still think I got, what, 4 times 7, 28 mana back, and it's a 65 mana, so I almost got half of my mana back. And if you look, there's 7 minions in a wave, so 7 times 7 is 49. You know, if you catch a hero 2, then that's another 7, so that's 56. You're only going to lose maybe 9 mana per storm. Gives you a lot of durability, I mean, or a lot of sustain in lane as far as your mana goes. So it's kind of up to you which one you want. Like I said, for me, it depends on the map. If I don't have to interrupt something specifically, I'm probably going to go with Psi Infusion, especially if I'm solo laning. Go on Haunted Mines if you're the one person in your lane defending. Either one's not a bad choice, but it's like I said, it's kind of up to you what you want to go with. Going to level 4, as I talked about, the Healing Ward was nerfed with the destruction, right? So what we do here, and you see a lot of people do instead, is take Mental Acuity. This used to be a niche pick. You would take it when there was a Nova, or a Nova and a Zeratul, or a Zeratul, and you needed that vision. This activates with the trait, which gives him, if I hit D, you can see the edge of my radius is all the way over here. I can see that far with this trait, the Oracle. So very useful trait to have, and the Mental Acuity actually cuts the cooldown in half from 30 to 15. This is kind of like could be your go-to on 4 pretty much with the nerf to Healing Ward. Then on 7, and we'll talk about a variation there in a second, we'll come back to it. If we go up to 7, because these two levels kind of synergize well with each other. Level 7, still, if you need the damage, you still stick with Static Charge despite the nerf. What happens is I cast this, and you can see the first hit is going to do more damage just because of the storm. They're actually enemies damaged. They're marked with a Static Charge. Any basic attacks consume that charge and deal an extra 56 damage on top of my auto attack. So that's one place that Tassadar gets a lot of damage from, and it's a pretty useful talent to have, especially if you need the damage. If you don't, you can actually go with Deep Shift. And unfortunately, we can't set one level at a time. We have to go back all the way. Deep Shift actually extends the duration. Now, this is not usually picked. It is possible to pick this, but this is kind of in a match where you really are worried about your safety for some reason. It's nice to have this, but this isn't necessary for the build we're doing. You do lose damage. So if you're in a team comp where you need more survivability than you need damage for some reason, you have like 4 assassins and you're the one support, you could take the Deep Shift instead, because you're not going to need as much DPS, right? So what this does, the E traditionally is 1.5 seconds. If we take Dimensional Shift, we've taken it and we hit E, we're walking out, we can get substantially farther. That's going to make it a lot easier to escape, and you can get away from a team fight pretty easily, or a gank, any kind of ambush that you run into with that. But as I said, Static Charge is generally the one you want here because of the damage. If you need more survivability for some reason, go with Deep Shift. Now, before we go further with the build, I did talk about there was a variation, and this is particularly useful on, I've seen this used on Haunted Mines, the one I want to show you now. This isn't necessarily the one that I would go with, but you can do this on Haunted Mines, for example, when you're defending against a golem. It is really, really useful. On level 4, you're actually going to take Reinforced Structure, and what this will do is the Plasma Shield is 100% stronger and lasts 100% longer when cast on structures. Excuse me. So if I go out here and I cast my shield, I can cast it on a structure, and I cast it up. Okay, I clicked on myself by accident there. Okay, so you can see the shield. In fact, let's cast another one. You can see the health bar up here as the tower takes damage. If I take Reinforced Structure, now unfortunately, the lane is going to get pushed away because it took tower shots, but now it is 100% longer and 100% stronger. And if you throw this up against a golem that's pushing, you can actually save your buildings. In fact, oops, we're already 7. So the other one that goes well with this is the Mule. If you can cast the Reinforced Structure on a tower, you could see how long that shield lasted right there. That lasted forever. And then if I drop a Mule, and say there's a golem, a big bad golem out here doing some damage, you can actually save, like I've seen them save the towers from a strong golem. Not even a weak one necessarily, a stronger one. Just because it's 100% stronger and it lasts for so long, it'll take so many hits, and then the Mule is there repairing it, as long as the Mule priority works. Sometimes the Mule repairs the wrong things, but if it's repairing the right thing, you can actually save most of your buildings. And you know, basically just by leaving Tassadar behind to defend while the other 4 members push, you know, you can do a pretty good job of preventing their enemy golem from getting a lot of work done. And so that's kind of like specific to Haunted Mines. You might be able to try it on another map, but you give up some damage for that, and you give up the mental acuity. So, like I said, you could try that out there if you want. The rest of the build's going to be pretty much the same. So let's go ahead, we'll level up to 20, and we'll show off everything here. Now, as I said, this does give up a bit of damage on Tassadar. You do lose a little bit of damage doing this kind of a build. In this case, we'll just take the 7. Say we need the range, we'll take the range. Like I said, map dependent kind of. Here you'll take mental acuity, and then you're taking static charge, unless you need the extra survivability with the deep shift. Okay, so we'll show off the extra survivability one. We'll go with Archon here, the same heroic. We're not going to do it. This isn't a force wall build. And now on 13, it used to be Distortion Beam or Shrink Ray. You can actually take Prescience, and what this does is gives you a second dimensional shift whenever you fall below 15% health. And this effect has a 45-second cooldown. So if I pick Prescience, and then I activate E, I think this should show up. Oh, it's actually only going to show up when it goes on cooldown. So if I come up here and I tank some tower shots, tank some damage, it'll actually activate when I get down to 15% health. And you'll wait for it. Okay. Well, I guess we're waiting there. Wait, did it happen? I'm trying to tank some tower shots. Shit. Oh, it's not working. Okay. How about this? We'll refresh the forts. There we go. Wait for it. You have to wait. He's a resilient dude. There we go. It activated. I didn't press any buttons. It just activated. You can see my dimensional shift still here. So, and there's the cooldown timer. It is a 45-second cooldown. It took a little bit longer than I expected for that to hit in. I guess at level 20 you're pretty resilient compared to the towers. All right. So it's kind of a get out of jail free card, and you get 2 of these. So say I'm in a battle, I drop below like I just did, and then all of a sudden I have 1.5 seconds to get away. If the enemy team is still chasing me, I can activate the E again at the end of my Prescience cooldown. When that is over, I can activate it again. So it's essentially 3 seconds. Now also we've increased the duration by 1.5. So in this case, I believe you actually get a full 6 seconds. Let's test this out actually, and see if it's the full 6 or if it's 4.5. I'm probably gonna drain all the ammo here. All right, ready? Get right here. It goes. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. That's the full. I got a full 6 seconds out of that inside of the dimensional shift. So, pretty cool. That's a long time. You can see I made it from like one gate to the other gate almost. And then on 16, what you can do and works really well with this, you give up second strike here, but you actually take dimensional warp. And while you're dimensionally shifted, you get 50% move speed. Okay, that's 50%. That's a lot. And you heal. In this case, we're at level 20 for just over 1,260 health. Now it's not going to be that initially at level 16, but it's quite a big chunk. And so if I'm up here and we refresh the forts, we'll toggle the minions, and I'm gonna drop down pretty low, right? Not sure why. There we go. Now they're attacking. They weren't attacking me for a minute there. Alright, so get ready. Now, okay, look at my health bar going all the way back up. And then if I tap it again, if I actually use the ability, I'm at almost full health from that. And you're right back in the fight. You went from 15% health to full health. Just like that, just within 6 seconds. And didn't have to leave the battle. Pretty awesome. Now, one thing you have to be aware of with this, you can activate your dimensional shift at any time. The Prescience, however, the one that automatically activates, you can die before it activates, especially against a Nova with triple tap. You have to watch out for big bursts of damage that can actually wipe you out. Maybe like a shock and awe comes in, and it's he's got gathering power stacks on it. that can actually kill you before it activates. And I've had that happen before. It happened once, and it only took once, and then I was like, okay, if there's a Nova around, I have to be a little bit more careful. Especially when you get that low in health, she can just burst you right through it. So be cognizant of that fact. Watch out for that. But otherwise, it makes you extremely survivable. And another cool trick you can do is, say we're in lane. We're gonna just do some damage to Arthas here, and hopefully he'll fall back. He's a bot, but now I can use my E, and look how fast I am. I am chasing him down. You can chase people down with it, and you can scout enemy teams because they're not gonna be able to see you. You're invisible. So it's a get out of jail free card, but it's also a way to chase enemies down and to scout. A little bit of scouting. It's only in this case it's 3 seconds. But if you didn't have the level 7 talent, it would only be 1.5 seconds, which isn't a ton. So you do have to be careful. You can't get a ton of information out of it, but it is, like I said, it's pretty. You can catch people by surprise with that movement speed. And then the level 20 talent is still most likely going to be Twilight Archon here. You might get away with a Resurgence if you needed it, but generally it's still the go-to. Just makes Archon so strong. Gives you that extra range. I can actually hit Arthas from so far away. He's, I think, dead. Now, oh, well, he came back. But yeah. And then you got to remember your shield. Like, I can stand at the gate and hit the fort. I mean, that range, because I did take the upgraded range, right? Yeah. So insanely strong. So that's like a dimensional shift build. Let's actually go ahead and get into a game and show it off. It's pretty cool. So you get your choice here depending on the map: Overload or Psi Infusion. Mental Acuity is your go-to, but like on Haunted Minds, like I was saying, you can do the Reinforced Structure. 13. Generally go with Static Charge unless you need extra survivability, or you kind of want to use that scouting aspect to chase people down. Like I was showing off there a minute ago. You could do Deep Shift. The Call Down Mule, of course, on Haunted Minds works really well with Reinforced Structure. If nobody else has a Mule, if you have an Abathur and he takes Mule, then I wouldn't necessarily stack 2. I'd rather have the extra DPS from the Static Charge. Archon and Twilight Archon stays the same. Here we're taking Prescience on 13. And then I don't even have to worry, I've got my Prescience up. And then Dimensional Warp on 16. And those two alone give you a ton of survivability. Like I said, with the extra bit on level 7, the Deep Shift, then you're pretty much impossible to kill if you have both that and your the Prescience and your Dimensional Shift up and ready to go. So I hope that answers some questions for you. This is generally how you see him played now, post-nerf. You can still do the old build. It's still viable. It's just not as strong. It's been nerfed a little bit, so you're not going to get as much damage out of it. You won't be as strong as it was before. It's still completely viable. Depending on the team comp and the map, I would definitely still use that build if you need the damage instead of the survivability. It's up to you. Alright guys, so thanks for watching. I'm going to go ahead and get into the game and actually show off the little Dimensional Shift build here for you on the live servers. Alright guys.